Alrighty. So we are going to start on today's cryptography questions. Like I said before, we got 15 questions tonight. Um, we have obviously all multiple choice again. This should be pretty good, especially since you two guys said that you guys went over a little bit more of cryptography in your 200 level course. So you may have like a little bit more of like a basic idea of where you need to go with everything. Can you guys confirm that you can see the shared screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So question number one for the night, and ignore again the question numbers at the top, is going to be which of the following allows lower level domains to access resources in a separate public key infrastructure? Is it going to be
Separate public key infrastructure?
yeah separate public key infrastructure?
I mean, honestly, I think it could be public key because it just seems that simple.
Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of the time with the questions, the answers could be as easy as that. Do you have an idea, Noah?
Yeah, I'm between public key and trust model.
Okay. So the answer was A, trust model. The reason for that is having to do with bridging different levels of domains. So in a bridge trust model allows lower level domains to access resources in a separate PKI through the root CA. CA standing for the what's it called? The Certificate Authority. Yeah. So to elaborate on that, a trust model is a collection of rules that informs applications on how to decide the legitimacy of a digital certificate. In a bridge trust model, a peer-to-peer relationship exists among the root CAs. The root CAs can communicate with one another, allowing cross-certification. The arrangement allows a certification process to be established between organizations or departments. To summarize, each intermediate CA trusts only the CAs above and below it, but the CA structure can be expanded without creating additional layers of CAs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
So
So I'm
it's kind
thinking
of
it
like,
wasn't going to be public key because that would be the same PKI, correct?
yes.
Okay.
So that's the answer for that one. Um, Moving on to question number two. Which of the following concepts is used by digital signatures to ensure integrity of the data?
I'm going to say hashing.
Yeah, it's gotta be hashing.
And you were both correct. Hashing is the answer. And for those who are listening at home, hashing is the correct answer because most digital signature implementations also use a hash to verify that the message cannot be altered intentionally or accidentally in transit. B, hashing is the answer to question number two. Moving on to question number three tonight. Which of the following explains the difference between a public key and a private key? Is it the public key is only used by the client while the private key is available to all? Both keys are mathematically related. Is it B, the private key only decrypts the data while the public key only encrypts the data and both keys are mathematically related? Is it C, the private key is commonly used in a symmetric key decryption while the public key is used in an asymmetric key decryption? Or D, the private key is only used by the client and kept secret while the public key is available to all?
I mean, I'm confused by D because it's not really the client, but it's true that the private key is usually only used by the person who owns that private key. The public key is available to all. And
Yeah,
for
so
C,
to answer that, because
go
I
ahead.
know I know you were confused, and I know I was confused when I read client. I'm assuming in this scenario, they're referring to client as being the person who owns it.
Okay.
I'm going back and forth between B and D.
I'm going with D.
So the answer was D. The private key is only used by the client and kept secret, while the public key is available to all. The reason for that is the private key must be kept secret at all times. The private key is private key is only by the client. The public key is available to anybody.
All right.
So moving on to number 4. The RC4 is a strong encryption protocol that is generally used with the following.
Here's where they get tricky.
To I don't know if either one of you guys know what RC4 stands for, so just to help you out a little bit there, it stands for Revest Cipher 4.
I'm going to go with A.
I'm not really sure. I'm gonna go with. I don't think his WEP as being strong.
Oh, okay.
I I do think of PEA. I can go with B.
Okay, the PAP. So the correct answer was actually what you thought was not strong, but it is in this scenario because it's what it uses, and that's the WEP. Answer C. Because the RC4 cipher is a 128-bit stream cipher used with WEP and WPA encryption. And because obviously they purposely gave you only WPA2 CCMP, you couldn't use that as an option. But it's either one of those. You may see a different answer there, where if they're asking you pretty much the same question, but they give you WPA instead of WEP, there's still that's going to be the answer there.
So I consider WEP to be weak because of the amount of attacks that are available to find the keys. Is that because of the implementation and not because of the actual protocol?
Yeah. So it's the combination of the two protocols being implemented here.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's what gives it the stronger piece to it. So the answer again is going to be WEP. Answer C for question 4. Moving on to question 5 tonight. Which of the following components must be trusted by all parties in PKI?
That is CA.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it before. Your certificate authority. Answer B is going to be the answer there. Certificate authority is an organization that is responsible for issuing, revoking, and distributing certificates. In a simple trust model, all parties trust the CA. In a more complicated trust model, all parties must trust the root CA. So yeah. So the answer for question 5 is going to be B, CA. Moving on to question 6 for the night. Which of the following are restricted to 64-bit block sizes?
This is going to be a question I'm going to be guessing on pretty much.
And that's okay.
I'm not really sure. DES and AES.
F.
Did you say DES as in like DES?
No, I said F, and
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna do B and F.
B and F. And what did you say, Noah?
I also said B and F.
Okay. So you guys were definitely right with DES. DES is definitely data encryption standard. Is been used since the 1970s, so that's definitely part of it. The other answer is actually going to be revolving around DES. It's the triple DES, which is going to be answer E here. So both of the correct answers are B and E. Are you guys familiar with DES at all?
We did learn about it in our class. I'm having a hard time remembering. That was a symmetric algorithm.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then triple S has a much larger key size.
Yeah. So, to kind of go over for everybody, the data encryption standard has been used since the mid 1970s. It's the primary standard used in the government and industry until it was replaced by AES. It's based on a 56-bit key that has several modes that offer security and integrity. It is now considered insecure because of the small key size, obviously. The triple DES is a technology upgraded based off of the DES. 3DES is still being used. Even though AES is the preferred choice by government applications, 3DES is considerably harder to break than many other systems, and it's more secure than DES. The increase in the key length is 168 bits. So, using three 56-bit DES keys. So yeah, like you said, it's triple the key size, or the bit key size as used for the triple DES. So yeah.
These are going pretty quick today.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when I only got two people with me. Moving on to question 7. Which of the following provides the highest level of confidentiality on a wireless network? And I think you guys may have talked about this in your class. If not yet, you definitely will. I know because we definitely hit on it later on. You'll talk about the different levels of confidentiality in a wireless network.
We have not yet.
Yeah, so you definitely will soon.
I feel like MAC filtering is. No, you can set your MAC address.
Mm-hmm.
Disabling SSID broadcast does help if they don't know the network. I don't really know packet switching.
I'm going with A.
You're going with A?
Yep.
I'm going to go with. I guess I'll go with A. A's good.
My rationale is because if you don't know the network's there,
Mm-hmm.
you're getting some confidentiality.
So, as much as it is definitely a way of getting you confidentiality there, technically speaking, it's not considered the highest level. For as far as this answer, the answer is actually C, referring to WPA 2.
Makes a lot of sense, actually.
Because the pretty much WPA stands for the Wi-Fi Protected Access, and both the WPA and the WPA2, which are pretty much the same thing in some capacity, our authentication protocols were designed to address the core, easy-to-crack problem of WEP. So that's the main reasoning behind it, is considered the highest level there. Obviously, MAC filtering and packet switching are two fairly low-level confidentiality pieces on a wireless network. So, moving on to question 8. A system administrator wants to confidentially send a username and password list to an individual outside the company without the information being detected by security controls. Which of the following would best meet the security's goal? So, this one I know Shani hit on last week when we talked. Actually, last Thursday when we talked. She had mentioned the topic before. Do you guys have any ideas for this?
I'd say it's D, steganography.
Okay. Bill, do you have any ideas?
Well, I'm eliminating some.
Okay.
but I'd have to go with stenography because full disk encryption. I mean, you're sending a file. You're not sending a disk.
Yeah.
Hashing, well, it would work if it can't be read on the other side. It's not going to help.
Yeah.
Digital signatures, their security would pick that up.
Yeah. And digital signatures would just verify where it came from, not that that it's overall being used there. So.
Yeah, I'm going with D.
Yep. So the answer is D, steganography. For those of you who are listening in who don't know, steganography is the process of concealing a file, message, image, or video within another file, message, image, or video. The advantage of steganography over cryptography alone is the intended secret message does not attract attention to itself as an object of scrutiny. Plainly visible encrypted messages, no matter how unbreakable, will arouse interest, and may in themselves be incriminating in other countries where encryption is illegal. Thus, whereas cryptography is the practice of protecting the contents of a message, alone steganography is concerned with concealing the fact that a secret message is being sent, as well as concealing the contents of the message. So it's like the better way of thinking about it. But yeah.
Alright.
Moving on to question 9 for the night. Which of the following is synonymous with a server's certificate? And we talked about this earlier.
Private key?
Close, but no cigar on that one. It is the public key.
Oh. Yeah.
A publicly.
Never distribute this private.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
Yeah. A public key certificate, also known as a digital certificate or identity certificate, is an electronic document used to prove ownership of a public key. So, obviously, I figured you'd understand that. Moving on to question number 10 for the night. Which of the following is public keys used for? Is it A, decrypting wireless message, B, decrypting the hash of an electronic signature, C, public encryption of IP-based email traffic, or D, encrypting web browser traffic?
That's an interesting question.
D.
You're saying D, encrypting web browser traffic?
Yes.
Do you have an idea, Noah?
Yeah. It definitely is used for D. I think it would also be used for, no, D.
So the answer is actually B in this case.
That's what I was going to say.
Decrypting the hash of an electronic signature. The sender uses the private key to create a digital signature. The message is in an efficient way signed with the private key. The sender then sends the message to the receiver. The receiver uses the public key attached to the message to validate the digital signature. If the value matches, the receiver knows the message was authentic. So you'll definitely be going over that more a lot more soon. I know
quick,
you. Yep.
To clarify, the reason why it's not D is because after the actual SSL handshake, there is the other key. I forget what it's called, but it's a symmetric key that was actually used for encrypting the traffic, right?
Yeah. So it's a different type of key. You'll definitely see it not mentioned so much in
It's a shared secret.
Shared key secret something.
Yeah.
But I haven't encountered a question on it yet. But that's what is being used for encrypting the web browser traffic. Whereas the public key is being used for verifying the electronic signatures.
Okay.
In this case. But yeah. So moving on to question 11 for the night. Which of the following protocols encapsulates an IP packet with an additional IP header?
with an additional
IP
IP
header.
header. um,
Hmm.
IPsec.
Do you got an answer for it, Bill, before I reveal the answer?
I'm going back and forth between B and C.
Okay. All right. So you guys both in some capacity had it correct. The answer is B, IPsec. It's an authentication header. It is a member of the IPsec protocol suite. AH operates directly on top of IP using IP protocol number 51. So obviously it's an authentication header that is being added there.
Okay.
So answer for question 11 for the night is going to be IPsec. Answer B. Moving on to question 12 for the night. After encrypting all laptop hard drives, an executive officer's laptop has trouble booting to the operating system. Now that it is successfully encrypted, the help desk cannot retrieve the data. Which of the following can be used to decrypt the information for retrieval?
Recovery agent.
Recovery agent.
Okay, you both got it right. The answer is A, recovery agent. To access the data the hard drive needed to be decrypted, to decrypt the hard drive, you would need the proper private key. The key recovery agent can retrieve the required key. A key recovery agent is an entity that has the ability to recover a key, key components, or plain text messages as needed. Alrighty. You'll have to excuse the cough. So the answer for question 12 is A, recovery agent. Moving on to question 13 for the night. A company uses PGP to ensure that the sensitive emails are protected. Which of the following types of cryptography is being used here for the key exchange?
PGP is.
Um, Asymmetric.
No, I think
No.
it might be symmetric. I'm not sure.
So the answer here is going to be answer A, but the answer is symmetric. PGP combines symmetric key encryption and public key encryption. The message is encrypted using a symmetric encryption algorithm, which requires a symmetric key. Each symmetric key is only used once and is also called a session key. To answer the question there for why it is a symmetric versus an asymmetric there.
You said it changes the key it uses each time.
Yeah, it says the symmetric key is only used once, so it's commonly referred to as a session key.
Is that like perfect forward secrecy?
Sort of similar to it, but I know it uses a different form of key encryption than than you have with this PGP.
Okay.
But it's very similar in that the always moving forward, not being able to decrypt previous messages, that the key is only being used once.
Mhm.
So the answer for question 13 is going to be A, symmetric. Moving on to question 14 for the night. Which of the following actions actions in PKI takes a certificate authority?
That's. Ooh.
Yeah. Do you guys have any ideas?
I'm between B and D, but I think it's D.
I'm going
D.
D.
Okay. And I see Juan has joined us tonight, and he's saying D on the very, very end of the questions for tonight. So you guys are all correct in saying D as being the answer. Issues and signs all root certificates. The reason for that is a certificate authority can issue multiple certificates in the form of a tree structure. A root certificate is part of a public key infrastructure, a PKI scheme. The most common commercial variety is based on the ITU-T X509 standard, which I don't expect you guys to always know, which normally includes a digital signature from a certificate authority, or a CA as we commonly referred to it earlier. Do note that in cryptography and computer security, a root certificate is an unsigned public key certificate, also called a self-signed certificate, that identifies as the root certificate authority.
Yeah, I should know how to do that. I just set up a VPN, and I had to make a CA root certificates and then use those to sign public and private keys.
Yeah, you'll have to do that for if you deal with any VPNs of sorts, which obviously now that VPNs are becoming more of a commercialized thing, we'll be seeing it a lot more often.
Yeah.
Alright, so moving on to the last question that I had set up for tonight is going to be question 15. Which of the following can be implemented with multiple bit strength? We kind of hit on this topic earlier in a couple questions. Really didn't talk too much about it. Kind of had mentioned that having to do with its security strength and it being more commonly used. Do you guys have any answers for it?
I don't think it would be MD4 or DES. I think it would probably be AES.
Bill or Juan? Do you guys have
A.
an answer? A from Bill. I know Juan was sort of in here. Juan doesn't have. Juan has no clue. All right. So the answer for the being implemented is going to be AES. Answer A. The reason for that, and we kind of hit on it earlier, is going to be AES, a symmetric algorithm. Jeez, I can't talk right now. Uses key sizes of 128, 192, or 256 bits. So those are being the different bit sizes that they use, and obviously these are being different forms of the multi-bit strength because AES has 3 different bits that it can use for it, whereas the DES, which we talked about before, has a 56-bit key, so it's only gives you 1 set of bits. But yeah. All right. I hope you guys all enjoyed hearing some of these questions. I will hope to see everybody back on Thursday at 6 o'clock. I will be able to answer any questions. Obviously, send emails to me. I will be able to answer them. I know I've gotten a couple recently that I haven't gotten the chance to respond to because I've been sort of busy, but I will definitely be getting back to you guys all. So feel free to message me with any questions you may have, any topics you want to go over. If not, I will see you guys all in the next YouTube video.